Alright, so here's what's happened. I've used a 90-degree 1/8 inch NPT to AN6 90-degree elbow. Then there's the flare fitting for the 3/8 inch line for the AN6. Another flare fitting. Same here on the other side, except here, like I was saying earlier, I ran into some trouble, but with an adapter, I made this happen anyway. So, next order of business is back there. I've actually got, let's see if we can get a good view on it. I'm trying, but yeah, there it is. That right there. That's the fuel line I'm trying to get to now. Well, I've already actually got the nut loosened up, but I gotta get the fitting out of there and put a straight AN fitting in there. Now on this side over here, you won't be able to see it very well, but there's another one of the square test ports that's plugged up. Like the old body style better, they at least weren't deadhead in the fuel system. But anyway, then I have some more fuel line running that way. That is low pressure line, but it's not really going to be under real pressure. And then the blue hose there, that is the fuel feed from the tank and filters pump. So yeah, that's where I am at on this thing right. Okay, let me show you where that other fuel fitting is. I got it all cleaned off and it's loosening up there. You can see where I burred it a little with the vice grips, which kind of terrified me for just like half a second, but then thank God it just started coming out. So anyway, that's the rear fuel port. That could really potentially be a massive pain if this bolt's stuck. But this thing has sat soaking in PB Blaster for the last couple of days. And there you can see my 90-degree fitting. That's actually a swivel fitting, not a standard, which is the only way you can get a 90-degree fitting in here, because it'll bang against the exhaust. So there we go. I did manage to get that in there. And thank God, because I thought I was going to use a 45-degree and that would not work. And what we're using here to seal these is Loctite PST 592 thread sealant. You're supposed to tape it. So you're supposed to need this tube and stuff before you use it. Definitely make sure not to get it towards the end of the threads. You don't want that in your fuel system at all, I'm sure of that. But it does say in the directions that you don't want to start at the first thread. And then it doesn't have to be on all the threads either. And they advise about 3/4 of a turn of this stuff probably would do you. So don't use Teflon tape. I found out that diesel fuel just eats that right on up, and that's pretty useless. So anyway, you know, Loctite or pop dope, whatever kind of thread sealant you want to use, just make sure that it's rated to handle a little bit of warm temperature there, so it is going into the head. Alright, and then just tighten that on down. So here's the fuel line that I'm going to run to there. And there you see it's going to go into the back of the head. It's 3/8 inch steel line with AN6 collar and fitting. There we go. Alright, so I'm not sure if you can really tell or not, but there's a new fuel line. It's not covered in grease. It's actually like OD green or something like that, but anyway, it runs there to that Y adapter, Y block, whatever. So those are all AN6, then it goes up to a 3/8 inch Parker push lock hose. It's rated for 350 PSI, which I bet those single flares wouldn't hold that anyway. But anyway, there we've got it all plumbed into the fuel pressure regulator on both sides. And then that's the return. And over here on this side, I ran out of material, so I did just use a push lock hose to run back there with AN fittings on it later. Whenever something else happens, I'll take that off and do the stainless, or I mean do the steel line. So getting ready to do a leak test. So underneath we've got the post filter there at 2 microns. There's the fuel pump crudely rigged together there. The 10 micron pre-filter, which I don't know why my camera refuses to focus right now. But anyway, I'm going to give me some oil and seal this filter here. The other one's already been used for a day or two. Gonna put me some fuel in this filter. I mean, all around the seal on this filter, and reinstall that into the filter base so we can try this out. Alright guys, this makes me pretty nervous. Moment of truth here. What is gonna happen? Are all the connections good to go? Or am I still gonna be leaking fuel everywhere? I hear it running. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, there's a leak. We do know fuel's making it up here to it. No leak there. Yeah, a tiny leak right there. That's the I mean, that's simple to get to right there. Let's cycle the key some more. At least we know fuel is making it up to the system and back around. Well, there's no fuel pissing all over the place, so that's a... I wonder. I think it's because the fuel pump shut off. I heard fluid running. I'm gonna go back topside and look some more. Oh, it's pissing out the fuel port. I mean the fuel pressure gauge port. Okay. Well, we'll deal with that. I'm gonna put the first piece of piping back on the turbo and secure it to the CCV breather. And also the hose there. And then we'll work on getting the power steering in here. A little update on that. There's the new unit. All the screws were loose in the old one. I mean, that was just ridiculous. And yeah, right there it is, just all coated real healthy like. Anyway, got the pulley part way on there with the installer sticking out of it. So I'm going to stick that in there, get that connected up, and I don't know what else. I'm just kind of overwhelmed. But I think I got my leak over here solved. If not, then I'm just gonna have to go and order another straight AN 6 to 1/8 inch NPT fitting and refab that steel line there. But anyway, like I said, I'm gonna get that in there so I can get the intercooler pipe back in there and have this side done and really finally be accomplishing something. So, okay, so here we're going to do a test start after the fuel system modification and glow plugs and all that. So, okay, let's try again. The wiring harness wasn't even plugged into the truck.
Daddy, gonna start the truck?
Yeah, there we go. It's gonna start.
How do you know it doesn't start?
I saw a little smoke shoot out of it.
Oh.
Okay, I got the power steering pump all hooked up. You're going to want to wait until it's time to put the serpentine belt on to take your pulley installer tool off to make sure that your pulley is in alignment with the rest of the pulleys. So I got that bracket there secured with the 4 13mm bolts. Still got to do that side. Got the valve cover bolts down on this side now. Glow plug and grid heater connected, except I'm missing a nut right there, but I'll get to it later. I do have some kind of fuel leak still happening here at the fuel pressure regulator. Not real happy with this JDM brand or whatever right now at this moment. I kind of wish I'd went with Aeromotive's A1000-6 model. So I got most of the rest of the electrical hooked up on here and all that. don't forget to hook up your engine wire and harness. That's why I couldn't get it to start first off. Bleed the pump. To start with, just fill it up. Take the very bottom drain hose off and just let it hang there, or hook something onto it so you can get it into a drain pan. Shh. And have one person turning the wheel from side to side with the truck off and jacked up off the ground. And you need to make sure to keep the reservoir on that sucker filled. And also, when it comes to each end of each turn cycle, you need to pump the brakes. Okay, so got the accessories all back on, serpentine belt back on. And man, if right here at the end I didn't run into a little trouble. That line is flush against that compressor. I got so frustrated and aggravated, you know what I did? I just shoved it on there and let it push the fitting back. So let's start this thing up now and see what happens. Well, let me plug the alternator's wiring back in and then we'll see what happens. I already had fun with that since the battery's been hooked up. There's a little arc welding I did with it. Yeah. You're getting in the 50s on the fluid levels, or temperature, sorry. There we go. Uh-oh. It's probably because the mass airflow sensor it picked up or something. It's not smoking really. Very, very little. So, well, it doesn't appear that at least is leaking where I forced it on back in there. Truck definitely was running good and rough. It was running though. I have no idea what kind of fuel pressure this thing's popping out because I can't find a fuel pressure gauge to test it. It's probably not nearly enough. But the truck is running rough as I don't know what. Hope all the injectors are okay and can actually connect it in there. So let's see what happens next. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and proceed here in a minute with bleeding the power steering pump. What I'm gonna do is install this fuel pressure gauge into the fuel pressure regulator. It's a 1/8 MPT MPT fitting that's in that housing. Really suggest something like pop dope, or in this case I'm using Loctite PST 592 thread sealant. It's for high temperature up to 400. It says to start using this stuff at the first thread and go, or after the first thread, excuse me. And then go about 3/4 around. That it doesn't have to be on all the threads, so don't go too crazy with the stuff. And that's kind of what I've done to it. I really strongly suggest an electronic one that's connected to a gauge on the dash, but I didn't have the money for that. And after everything I've done, $100 is about what it costs to get one. I'm using an O-ring on this, so shouldn't have to torque it down to but about 85 foot-pounds of torque probably. There we go. That feels kind of good. So, there we go. Got that installed on there. At this point, you're still seeing a rubberized hose because I'm waiting on the flaring tool to make proper flaring on my AM fittings to install the steel lines all the way through the system. I got bad leaks and everything right now because of that. But anyway, That'll be corrected in a video after this. Alright, here's a reinstallation. Passenger side intercooler tube. It's kind of a pain to work it on with the boot on it, but listen, it's best just to leave the clamps alone that's on the aluminum pipe so that you don't deform it trying to over tighten it, or possibly not tightening it enough because you're too afraid of deforming it. If you just leave it on there, it kind of solves that whole little problem there. Now right now is a good time to ensure that all the clamps are on these boots. I always prefer to hook the intercooler side up first. I don't worry about bolting it down until I've got both sides secured on. Yeah. And then just have to deal with the one here on the intercooler side. And there we go, that's done. Okay, after almost a week of driving on this JDM fuel pressure regulator, I'm aggravated and disgusted with it. It leaks around the housing, in which I've never had any of that off. It's really just piss poor design all the way around. Here, I'll show you how it leaks. The thing here is not even getting 25 psi to it. And you can see if it's fuel from right here,
cockpit fuel pressure regulator. It's also trying to leak out the boost barb. So if you had this hooked up to a turbocharger, that would cause a runaway. What a piece of junk.
Okay, so I went ahead and disconnected that JDM regulator. The seller didn't make good on their claim that they were going to replace the thing, so I have bought a new one and waiting on it to show up. Stick it in the same place. See if we can see how much fuel's down there in the valley. It's not that bad. Okay, so we got that regulator. Let's open her up, see what we got. Instructions. It's a regulator. There's the output port, 2 input ports. What I don't understand is I thought it said that it had a place for a fuel gauge, but I don't see that. There's the boost reference port and the adjustment screw. I'll have to get a Schrader valve for this. And then here we've got 3 AN6 O-ring Boss fittings. So what I'm going to do is use some pop dope and seal all those into this and then install this on the truck. One thing that I just now happened to notice was, however, I don't get any kind of a bracket to go with this thing, so I'm going to have to fab something up. And it also did not, let's see, I'll check the bag. Yeah, it didn't include the screws to mount the thing. But for the price difference, I'm really not going to gripe about this. I wound up scoring this for about $42 on eBay, just a couple of cents less. But here's what I want to say about that. I really want to thank the seller that sold this to us, because I told him that I was without a vehicle until this showed up because of a failed regulator. And what the seller was more than kind enough to do without me ever asking or even paying them to do. They sent it next day air, so I didn't have to wait until next week to get it at their own expense. And if that seller happens to be watching this video, I super appreciate your kindness that you showed me. Thank you so very much. My family is very grateful. Alright, so I got the oil changed in this thing. I'm going to go ahead and try and start it. Glow plug's relay doesn't work right now at this time, so there's going to be a little excessive cranking. I don't mind because, well, it's oil change time, so it needs to build oil pressure. Anyway, my friends and viewers, I appreciate you for watching my videos. Check my channel for the other playlists that I have. It's all separate, or it's all sorted by topic, so have a good gander and enjoy, I hope. Anyway, I do want to praise my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. May He richly bless and guide you all. I hope you have yourselves a terrific day.